Alright, Autumn, let's take a look at your paper. MLA format first. This looks good up here. This needs to be moved over. It's got to be left justified, so it's got to be right there. And then I do not need the comma right there. I don't need the TH either, just the date. This is not in Times New Roman 12-point font, so you might want to go back there and change that. It's not going to affect length, probably too much, but just so you know. And this does not look like it's actually centered. Maybe it is, but just double check that that's centered. So in your introduction, you start with a quote. For the in-text citation, you just need Shakespeare. You just need the author's last name, and then you jump right into the topic, which is how it relates to your high school life. I'd love for you to build on this quote first, explain what it means, maybe give it the context of the play, so on and so forth. High school is always 2 words, so make sure that you make that 2 words. So you do a decent job of talking about the topic and moving forward with the topic. That's not bad. You do have incomplete sentence. Sorry, you have a run-on sentence right here. Then there was me. This is a whole nother thought, so you can't just use a comma there. Other than that, looks like your grammar is pretty good in here. You don't have a strong preview of your main points though. You got to have a preview of your main points here to tell me what the paper will be about, what the paragraphs are going to be about. And this, I know we worked on this together, but this is actually a really good thesis statement, which, keep in mind, at the end of this senior year, I still have seniors that can't do that. So the fact that you can, Autumn, is really awesome. So good job on that thesis statement. It's probably going to work well as the paper goes on, but maybe just do a better job of setting up what's going to be in the paper before we keep going. Alright, so let's take a look at your first body paragraph. Freshman year is how you would say it. Your freshman year. The only problem that I think you have some good details in here, as far as you have some emotion in here, maybe a little bit of cliche, but I'm sure you felt that way. The one thing that I do want to point out is how many short, choppy sentences you have. This is short, choppy sentence, short, choppy sentence, short, choppy sentence, short, choppy sentence, short, choppy sentence. Really try to elongate a lot of those sentences. Like this one is quite a bit longer, so concentrate on adding some more in there. And certainly you can add short, choppy sentences for a reason. If you want to pick up the pace of it, or if there's a tense moment coming up, you would want to use that. But otherwise, I don't. It's too many in a row for that. One thing which is a common error, but we gotta learn this now. When you have two complete sentences separated by a conjunction, you need to make sure that there is a comma in there. They finally told her she was cleared from the cancer, comma, and I started to lift back up. So complete sentence, conjunction, make sure you put a comma in there, and that's not the only place it happens. So go back through and look at that. There's another one right here, but you want to go back through and fix that. Now, I'm probably going to say this a lot, but remember, this is a reflective essay, so you have to reflect back on these events. This first body paragraph should be focusing on one event, but it looks like it's going into the next event as well. So you got to make sure that you're still reflecting back and saying, oh my gosh, now that I look back, this is what I realized. And remember, you have to learn this lesson up here in all of your paragraphs. And in your body paragraph, which is again just a continuation of the first, so you might even combine these two paragraphs, there is again, you're telling me, and this is a narrative, but you're not reflecting back yet. You're not bringing in the point of the quote. You're not bringing in your thesis statement. So you got to do this in here. Get rid of things like I think. You don't want to use that in your language. And again, we're looking for maybe some dialogue, looking for some vivid imagery. Maybe what color was the flower that you ran to her. Even if you don't know, make it up. I don't know, I wasn't there. So some things like that where you just have a little bit more detail in there will make it that much stronger. So this next paragraph is about your friend. When you have number 2, remember numbers up through 11 you want to spell out, so make sure you do that. So you have good dialogue here, pretty powerful dialogue in fact, to have that message. You have a run-on sentence here that you'd want to fix, a couple of them just here. You want to fix those. You have a couple, you have the conjunction there with the 2 complete sentences, so you want to fix that as well. But again, no reflection back. You're telling me, this is where you want to reflect back. Don't use very, by the way, get that out. But this is where you start to be dark and gloomy. Okay, fine. Reflect back on it. What did that mean? What did that death mean to you? What do you see in it now? How does it relate back to your quote? That's the kind of stuff that you want to do in here. Now you're jumping way ahead to your senior year. So is this chronological? Because you started with your freshman year and you're starting with people that have died. So I'm wondering, would it make sense to go chronological, and whether this really is chronological? I don't know. I'll let you know. Transitions. You need some strong transitions in here as well. Moving from one paragraph to the next. You kind of use transitional words, but I want a whole sentence here to transition that reader. So we have another death, which I'm starting to think maybe your topic should have been about just people dying, but some good details in here. Even though it's kind of a cliche, at least wrapped his car around a tree, is at least a little bit of a different voice in here. So I enjoy that. I like this, that he began to donate his organs to help others. I thought that was interesting, and that inspired other people as well. Again, you could reflect back on that. How selfless of him, and now looking back, I feel this way about it. Very powerful that you could speak at his funeral. Do you remember anything that you specifically said? Something like that might be good dialogue to go in there. What did he say to his future self? That could go in there as well. And again, I can't imagine trying to finish that task. That'd be really, really difficult as well. Again, need a transitional statement there as well, Autumn. Alright, so we have another death with a family friend. Too many spaces there, you want to fix that. This one, and you even kind of say, it didn't really hit you as hard as most. And if that's the fact, do we really need it in here? Since you're probably not learning anything from it, there's no real reflection to it. Is it needed in here overall? Now I know you're going to jump into relationships in just a second. So you start off with deaths, and then you get into these relationships that you've had. And I'm wondering if we could, find that linking element there between both of them, because I'd love for you to focus just on relationships or just on deaths and how much they impacted you. I'm not sure, but as we keep reading, maybe it'll be more clear to me. So anyways, just think about whether you think you should eliminate that paragraph up here about Chris. Alright, when you get into relationships now, I noticed something that's happening. Number one, you are forgetting to capitalize I. There's, I think, at least 3 in this paragraph that you do that, 4 in this paragraph that you don't do that. So you're really gonna work on that, especially from here on out, because there's another one down here as well. And I feel like your details aren't as strong. From sitting on the couch to helping my family move, you could combine that sentence together. I don't know, we had our ups and downs, but always worked through them. I mean, kind of cliche. There are days when I want to choke, and I guarantee you days like that. 2, comma, that, comma, 2. We still manage to work those days out, but there's nothing specific in here. I like the idea that I force myself to hate him, but looking back on it, what sense does that make? I know you say today everything's okay. He knows I would give up anything for him, but reflect back a little bit more on that. But look how short this paragraph is compared to your other paragraphs. I just think you need some more work on that. Then you get down to the band paragraph, and again you have these short, choppy sentences. So before your sophomore year, is it because this was the first year without them, or because you knew that was your last year? Because then you jump way ahead to graduation. So it's kind of weird that that's quite a jump. I mean, you would need a comma again. Here's your 2 complete sentences with a conjunction in the middle. And again, as you look back, what would it do for you? And I know you say you had to drop band to graduate. Well, look back on that. Like, is there regrets? Is there whatever? And again, go back to your thesis statement. Does it make sense for that? You don't have a transition in here. So you still need to work on that as well. So now your paragraph on moving. Again, this one's better. You actually use some figurative language here, which is good. Would love to see more of that throughout the paper. Some more vivid imagery throughout the paper as well. You are doing some reflection in here, which is good. This is the first time we've actually said, now that I look back on the change, so on and so forth. Oh, you still dislike, I'm so sorry that you don't like some members of the staff. But you maybe look back a little bit more, concentrate a little bit more on that. I'd soon form bonds. So there is some good reflection in there, Autumn. So I think you do a decent job of that. And then you kind of get to grades, and this is where I kind of sit your papers all over the place. It's like death, 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 relationships, which you only talk about one, and then band, which is kind of relationship, and then moving, and now your grades. I feel like it's kind of all over the place. There's not a lot of focus with this particular paper, which is what you really need to make it concrete. Because when you go back to your you talk about persevering, which you bring up that concept here, which is awesome. You don't really talk about persevering in a lot of the other paragraphs, and that's where you need to improve on quite a bit. Again, topic sentence as well. You want to make sure that you go back and look at topic sentence. This is a very plain one. Persevering through grades taught me something, or persevering through grades is what blah blah blah, something like that. When you have questions like this, you need to have capitalization at the beginning of them, so make sure you do that. You don't need this period here when you have this end punctuation within the quote, so you don't have to worry that. And then you could talk a little bit about, you failed the class, there's too many spaces there. You failed the class, how did that make you feel looking back on that? And again, the idea of dropping band, something that made you so happy. What was that process like, and looking back on it? Was that a smart decision? Would you have rather have dropped art? Something like that. And again, you got the I problem here that you need to fix. So now we get into the conclusion. Alright, with your conclusion, make sure you start with your thesis statement. This is a run-on sentence, which is you're trying to turn into your thesis statement, so fix that. And then you need to repeat your main points over again, a sentence per main point. Don't thank people at the end, although I appreciate you thanking me. You don't thank people at the end of a formal essay, so you don't need to do that. You just need to end on a clincher. No works cited page for your Macbeth entry, so that'll count against you as well. So Autumn, a little better focus, a little more reflection, a little bit organizational stuff here and there, and I think this is going to be a much better paper in the future. So good luck.